Hello and welcome to the Unscathed Life podcast, a podcast that inspires you to push beyond adversity and rewrite your story. On the show, I'll be sharing some of the core principles that underpin unscathed living, a life I define as the intentional manifestation of your highest self, regardless of circumstance. My guests all embody unscathed living and will be sharing relatable practices that have helped them stay advancing despite adversity. My name is Toma Muswago and I am your host. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining the show. So I am super excited to introduce you to today's guest. So today I have Ndifreke Andrew-Essien, Freky as she's fondly called. Freky has over 12 years experience in civic leadership, volunteering and working in communities in different program-related areas within the not-for-profit sector. She also founded the Freky Andrew-Essien Care Foundation, well known as the FAECARE Foundation, a not-for-profit organization which focuses on vulnerable groups within the community. So here's the thing, Freky was a fourth-year medical student studying medicine at the University of Calabar in Nigeria on the day her life took an unexpected turn. At just age 22, she was involved in an accident which resulted in a spinal cord injury, leading to her no longer being able to walk. So in this conversation, Freky basically takes us on a journey of her life. Since then, from the aftermath as a young adult whose life had been changed forever, very suddenly, to the adjustments that she has had to make over time since then to be living with a disability as an adult. She shares the many challenges and victories that have occurred in between. And just the doggedness it has taken for her to become is the success that she is today, living as the highest expression of herself. Freky has gone on to achieve multiple degrees, including a BSc and Masters in Human Physiology and Public Health. And she also participated in President Barack Obama's flagship and inaugural Young African Leaders Initiative. Freky is a Mandela Washington Fellow. She's a certified management consultant. She's a disability advocate. She's a John Maxwell team member, as well as a speaker, amongst many other things. I honestly can't wait for you to get into this conversation with us because it is amazing. Awesome. So I've just read your very impressive bio. So I want to start, who were you? Who were you as a child? I want to talk about who you were as a child. Who were you as a child and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, so that's actually really simple. As a child, I was what you describe as very stubborn. I just really love tantrums, according to my mom. So I kind of always wanted to have my way. Basically, growing up was really smooth. Accomplished all the milestones early. Went to nursery, primary, secondary, university, everything on time and pretty early. So childhood was really fun.
You were very timely in terms of meeting your milestones. You went to school, did everything at the right time. So I want to kind of move on then to talk about, so what was sort of the life-defining moment for you? What caused a shift, or what happened? What was sort of the pivotal moment in your life from childhood up until now?
Okay, so very many remarkable moments, but the one that I will hinge on would be what happened when I was in university in the fourth year. That's on the 26th of December in 2002. So I remember like yesterday, earlier in the month of December, I remember going home to visit from school because I went to a school in another state. So I told my parents that I wasn't going to come back for the Christmas holidays because we had a professional exam coming up quite early. In fact, it was supposed to come up in the first week of January. So the right thing was to just stay in school and study. So I remember that first week of December, I went home. So I told them, I'm not coming for Christmas. And it was going to be one of the first Christmases not going home. Of course, my siblings were in different schools in different parts of the world. So I was kind of the one that was in Nigeria. So I told them I wasn't coming back and that I'll be in school. So I was in school. Christmas came on 25th. So on that particular day, on the 26th of December, so the way school is you can be in school and not have to go to town for anything if you don't need to. Of course, that's how our campuses are. Kind of, you can find everything you want there. So I just felt that because it was holiday, I should stay away from the books for at least one day and go visit. I had aunties and uncles in town. So after studying for most part of the morning, I took on visiting in the evening. And in that part of Nigeria, Calabar precisely, the mode of transport that was most common is the motorbike. So when I came out of campus, I had the option of using a taxi or a bike, but by default, the bikes are faster and easier.
Yes, they are.
So I opted for the bikes, and after buying the gifts that I was, Christmas, so armed with cards, armed with gifts, flagged the bike, climbed it. Interesting thing is that, in fact, I had three options. I had the option of walking, of using a taxi, or using a bike, but I chose the bike. So I climbed the bike, and I remember the man was like, "Oh, point to where you're going to. I'm not sure of the street, no problem." So we went on our bike. I crossed all the major places that would have ever been an issue. 2 major roundabouts crossed without any issue. And then I got to the street that I was supposed to go to. So I pointed to where I was going to. And what I'm saying, giving the details, is because it looked as if it was slow. But when the accident happened, it happened really quickly. Because I remember pointing, that's where I'm going to. And then the man trying to cross over to the other side to get to the specific street that I was pointing at. And the next thing, I was in the middle of the road, on the floor, on my back. And when that happened, I remember lying back there because I wasn't unconscious or anything. I was very awake and wondering what just happened. Yes. And wondering what just happened. And then also wondering where my legs were almost immediately. And I turned, I saw a car coming at full speed, come and kind of finish what the bike man had started. Then he now swerved, fell into the gutter. Then people now came. And because the area was a place that I was very familiar with, because I'd lived without my aunt for a while. So next thing I kept hearing, I now started hearing people saying, "Oh, it's Freky, it's Freky, it's Freky." And then I was just trying to understand what was happening because I still could not figure out where my legs were. In fact, at that point, I kind of felt that maybe another car had crushed it or something. In all of that confusion, people gathered, and my friend or friends, people that were living around there, "Oh, it's Freky, it's Freky." And then a car stopped to help, the Nigerian Samaritan, Good Samaritan thing. And he stopped. The bike man was unconscious and bleeding, as I found out later. Me, I was still awake, and they couldn't understand why I couldn't get up and go to, come away from the road or, And so they just carried me, and immediately the pain in my back was really sharp. And I knew that something very wrong was happening. But everybody was kind of in a hurry to get me to a hospital. At that time, the teaching hospitals were on strike. So I remember we were in the car, and then they were like, "Where should we carry her to? The hospitals are on strike. What should we do?" So I told them they should take me to the student medical center because I was doing my clinical rotation there. So I told them to take me there. I would just call my consultant to come because I knew that if we go to the teaching hospitals, if they're on strike, I won't be able to get access to anyone. So that's when we went there, still on my back, in a lot of pain. And these were the holidays. So a lot of people had traveled. So we got there, and like I said, the picture, I still feel like it just happened because I remember it in so much detail.
Much detail.
Yeah.
But how old you though? It was such a life-defining moment.
Yes, it was, because immediately when we're there in the medical center, this is how it happened. I was there, my sister, who was going to school in Ghana, she was also doing medicine. In fact, my siblings following there were some in Ghana, some in Kenya. And I remember it because it was at the same time when they were trying to move me from the Good Samaritan's car into the hospital. And I kept telling her, I had an accident.
Oh, you got your phone? You picked up your phone?
Yes, she called me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like I had an accident and I had an accident. And why that connection was very important was because she was the one that now called my parents and told them, or tried to call someone, because my parents were in the village and there was no network. So she called an uncle to now travel to the village to now tell them that something is happening with Freky. So that connection. But anyway, coming back to the hospital, I was there in the hospital. So the consultant was able to come. My classmates that were in class studying all came out and were like, Freky, what happened? We just saw you now in class. I said I was going to go and eat rice. So so I'm very funny sometimes. I just knew that I was in pain. I didn't know what was happening. So I was there in the hospital on my back. And I remember the consultant, he kept asking what happened. I said, we had an accident. I landed on my back, and since then it's been pain and then no feelings in my leg. So we tried to do an x-ray. He was like, man, I need to leave so that I can go somewhere where I could get better attention. So that connection that my sister had with my parents, so they now came to Calabar.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So when we came, we got an ambulance, because from then on I couldn't sit or anything. I was on my back. I couldn't sit or move. So I was flat on my back. So we used an ambulance, came back to Port Harcourt, went to the hospital, and they felt that I needed to be evacuated to Lagos. So we now used the helicopter for that. Still on the spectrum. Yeah. So we got to Lagos and I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital in Lagos for till about February, March. Throughout that time I was kind of bedridden. So they did many tests, and then the doctor said that he felt that it would be better for me if we could travel. He didn't want to do anything because he had done the CT scan. Up until that moment, I did not think that the prognosis was bad. I just felt that we'll just get it done and I'll be on my way. So when he said that, I now began to kind of think that, okay, this is probably more than I thought. And for a doctor to say he would rather not carry out surgery on you, it's very odd. So when he said that, those were the indications that it was probably more serious than I was giving it more thought to. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I was finally able to go to Israel. So I went to Israel, and the doctor there, they carried out their own tests. And I remember because he came into the clinic after the hospital, my room, where we had done all that, and he kept asking me where I was. Okay, first it was like, when did the accident happen? I said, it's there in the forwarding report now. It happened in December. And then he kept asking where I had been since.
When did you go to Israel? How long after the accident did you go to Israel?
I think this was 3 months later. So he kept asking where I had been, whether I was at home. I said, no, we're in the hospital. Now, why he was asking, because he was like, they speak Hebrew, so his English was very direct. And he was like, this is medical emergency. It happens, they carry you straight to theater. I said, yeah, I get you. For my country, things don't work like that. And that the doctor probably even did me a favor of not going into my back to go and do trial and error. So he was like, he couldn't grasp how this wasn't seen as an emergency. Yeah, so he was saying, no, this is something immediately, and my back is very bad. So those were the indications that, okay, this is probably worse than I thought. He said, your back is scattered, is bad, trying to communicate. So he now explained what they were going to do, that they were going to carry out surgery on my back. And then he now dropped the very major bombshell. I traveled with my mom, and he said that the only thing that they can do was help me sit again, because all throughout this time I was still on my back. I hadn't sat for 1 second. I couldn't. So he said that the only thing that they could do for me was do surgery, fix my back, fuse my back with the rods and screws. So what they did was a lumbar fusion, because I had a burst fracture. So he said they would do that, and then I now had to learn how to sit again. Like the best he could do was help me sit. So that's when I knew that, okay, it's serious. So immediately he dropped that bombshell. He said it as raw as he could. He didn't have the English words to make it
softer or oh my God,
so he just said it.
So
and immediately he said, I think that was for the first time I realized that this is bad. And then my mom she left immediately. She went into because I was in the hospital ward, so she went to the bathroom and I heard her crying. So, but my immediate reaction, I don't cry easily. I still don't. So my immediate reaction wasn't tears. So I love music, so I did was I had something that was playing a CD for me and my earphones, and I just put that in my ear at that time to process what had been said. Interesting, I really believe that as children of God, God has a way of making the small things really matter. We're always carried away by the very big things, But I've learned from this experience that the small things were, for me, lifesavers, or the things that have kept me through to still have a positive attitude till today. And why I'm saying that is because in that space, in that time, when I had put the earphones on my ear, the specific song that was playing, or the CD was selected from heaven, because I love CC Winans, and so the specific song was a song that was saying it's gonna get better. Don't give up now. So the exact
wow.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy
comes in the morning.
So will you stay?
I love what you said there. My immediate reaction was not to cry. I don't cry easily. That is just so much power. Have you always been like that?
Yeah, you heard me say that I was stubborn, right? So I cried when I want things, but like reacting in a panicky mode is not something I do. I kind of always just stay. And I don't know, no, I would just stay first. That's my response. Even till now, I would just stay, just pause for a bit and just be like, what's happening?
I love that. And I think that's very, very important, because sometimes when you're just very reactive, you don't even know what you're reacting to. It's strength. It's gathering strength to react. I think it is. It's gathering strength, getting yourself together and saying, how am I going to control my response to this? So I think that's so important. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think someone has been blessed by that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So what were the early days like for you? So you did the surgery, I presume, to help you sit. So what were the early days like for you? What's that transition like from being a bubbly young girl going to university, working, doing all of that, to being told that the best I could do for you is help you sit? What is that like, transition-wise?
Okay, so first of all, I wouldn't even wish that on my enemy, because it's not easy. It was not easy. It was a bit difficult, in that it would have been different if I was born with a disability, as opposed to being a young adult, kind of on a journey, and then having to stop, really, because I see it like, or I've always seen it like I was going on a trip and then I was stopped right smack in the middle of going somewhere. So for me, it took a lot of adjusting, because I was in medical school, going through school, and then I'm told that I have to learn to sit. But one of the things that helped me to kind of do it was not trying to figure it all out. I think that's helped, because I found that if I take it one day at a time, I will not overwhelm myself. Because I saw that every time I was trying to, what happened to me, it will cause me to panic, because the uncertainties were more than things that I was certain about. So I think I got that advice to just take it one day at a time, figure it one day at a time, that would help. And that's why I said that one of the things that really helped me, when I replied your mail, was goal setting, because I would just set a goal that's not like far, just around, and then work towards that. So immediately after surgery, and by the way, I had to have two because the first one did not was still needed. I needed to review, so it took a while. So when I got back, one of the first things was learning how to sit. It was clear that was what had to happen. So at that point, I didn't want to struggle with, will I ever go back to school? Will I ever? All those things, because it wasn't going to help me. So I took it that, what I need to figure out now is how to even sit.
Step at a time, one step at a time. What's the immediate first thing that I need to do?
Right, yes, right now. Prioritizing what the need was and focusing my strength on getting that done. So I had to learn to sit. And then the next thing, after we came out from hospital, because I didn't come back immediately, we stayed with the family. And the lady said that she wants me to, she doesn't want me because I was indoors. So she now said that she told me, and I thought she was crazy at that time. She said, Freky, we're gonna make one day in a week your outing day. I said, why would I want to go out? Because I was I had braces, like this body cast. I was like, why? As in, she said, no, that honestly, I need to face the world. I cannot hide. I said, I'm not hiding. It's not time. She said, nope.
Wow.
I'm going to assign people to you. So because in Israel, you go to church on Saturday. So my outing day was Sunday. So she said, on Sunday, you're out. I said, I don't need to. She said, don't worry. Even if it's for 30 minutes, for an hour, you just go to the mall and you guys stroll. I said, okay, cool. All these things, very important. Like I said, God has a way of helping. Because it helped me to understand that I didn't need to shy away from the outside world. And I needed to start learning people's new reaction to the chair, or the reaction that people have to the chair. And because because they're advanced, so I saw other people on wheelchairs in the mall. So I found out that it was not a big deal to go out.
And then, did you find that you now notice things differently from previously? More people with disabilities than previously, when perhaps you may not have noticed. Is that your experience?
Oh yeah, so what you said is really true. Disability now became on my radar. It wasn't there before. It wasn't something that I thought about. My earliest interaction with any kind of disability, anything, was when a friend of mine, still in uni, told me that she was learning sign language. And I was like, and she said, that in her church, that they had deaf people, that they actually have a service where deaf people invite deaf people to church, and she was very intrigued. So she wanted to learn sign language so that she could be among the sign language interpreters that would stand in front of the deaf people and interpret. That was the only interaction I ever had as regards that. And I was like, okay, interesting. Because before now, I didn't know where a person with disability would go to church. It was not like a big deal. Even though I was doing medicine, it wasn't something that came across my radar. So that made me see the world differently, because I found out that I had to do things differently, enter into buildings differently, do things, and because it's spinal cord injury, so you have a lot of physiological involvement. So peeing differently, doing everything differently. When I came back to Nigeria,
how was it, your reintegration to Nigeria? And I'm talking specifically because it's a society that isn't the most inclusive when it comes to people living with disabilities. What was that like for you?
Okay, so it was a bit tough, because first of all, I was told that when I come back home, I was told that I need to do rehabilitation. It's not physiotherapy, rehabilitation. So when I came back, the first thing that we're doing was looking for where I could do rehab. And then it occurred to me that I wasn't able to find a place that could do spinal rehabilitation in Nigeria. So that's where the drama started from. So I found out I needed to figure out things for myself. So that was like the next goal. So I had to do a lot of internet search and research to find out things, how I could do things different or better for myself, join forums online, because I was not getting answers. I wasn't getting answers from doctors. I wasn't getting answers from people around. it was like they couldn't give me real quick answers or direct answers. So I found out that I needed to figure that out. So that was my first, should I say,
Sure.
experience when I came back home. No, you can say, don't worry, don't do rehab, and then you figure out stuff. And then I came back and I couldn't find rehab. All the rehab that I could find were things that had to do with orthopedic surgery. So like bone strengthening, muscle strengthening, but spinal rehabilitation, no. So that was my first introduction to life in Nigeria. Then when I began to slowly figure out some of these things, going out, going to church, I now found out that the world was very different for persons with disabilities. First of all, we're not even considered at all. So the places that I would go to easily were no longer as easy as before, because you go there and you find that these 3 steps, small steps that before I could just fly, and pass. Well, now I have to figure out, okay, how do we do this? And then I have to now start asking people, come and carry, So yes, I start seeing the world in a different light. And then interestingly, apart from physical barriers, the thing that, should I say, alarmed me almost the most that early time was people's reaction to me. I found out that people started treating me differently. So we had some people who, they don't want you to come because you bother them. It's like, you have to figure out something. Then we had people who respond by way of trying to ignore the situation. Then I had people who were like pitying. Why are you stressing yourself? Just stay at home. Must you come out? Must you? And then I had people who, out of love, were genuinely concerned and now being overprotective and don't want to respect. So different responses. I even had aggression, like, they're coming to disturb us here. So different responses to disability. Initially, it used to really tick me off because, of course, as I continue to grow, I now found out that people would only respond to you based on the level of knowledge that they have.
So true.
And then I had to decide if I wanted to allow them to box me into their narrow-mindedness, or use that opportunity to educate them and make them more knowledgeable, or just allow them to stay with their narrow-minded opinions. So, and knowing that I have those options have helped me in my reaction, because I used to get really emotional, especially when somebody treats you bad. You don't start feeling bad. I said, why am I giving this person so much power over my space? So, of course, I didn't know those things now. I had to grow. So knowing these things has helped me in the outlook. So when I go out, I know that people are going to have their different opinions on what disability should be and how I should be handling it. Even in the Christian faith, how I don't have faith to walk again, all that. And I'm like, cool, that is your opinion. Good for you.
Good for you. Good for you.
These have been mechanisms that have helped me over time. But integrating into the world was not easy.
You were 22 when the accident happened.
Yeah.
You were in university, you had a life, you were on a track, essentially.
Yeah.
So you had this sort of life-changing accident that happened. You went to Israel, you got, initial treatment, and you came back to Nigeria. So what was the process like for you, kind of trying to pick up your life from where you left it in terms of, your academics and, relationships? I know you've touched on relationships a little bit, but what was that like, particularly, from your academic standpoint? Did you feel at any point like, can I do it? Can I even do it? Is this doable? Is it worth it? Did you feel that way at any point?
Yeah, so okay, for me, I was always let me start with academics. When it came to school, I absolutely did not feel that it would disturb me going back to school. It took me some years to be able to be strong enough to get some level of independence, battle with medical complications that came afterwards. Because when I came back, there was only time that I was in hospital for almost 6 months, just different stuff that happened. So it took me some time. But in the course of that time, I had deferred my admission. That was very crucial. I didn't think going back to school would be any issue. I told friends to make that inquiry for me. So we wrote all the necessary letters, sent all the necessary medical reports to let them know that this was happening. Because my plan was that when I was strong enough and able, I'll just go back, and continue from where I stopped. That was my mindset. So when, I think in 2005, 2006, there about 2005, 2000, when I was finally able to.
So this would have been about 3 years.
Yes,
3
of
years.
Trying to figure it out. So when we felt that I was strong enough, and when I say we, me, of course, my family, figured out, strong enough to broach going back to school. So I reapplied that, I was ready. And there was this college assembly. They have it often to review cases. And I was hinted that my case was going to be seen before the college assembly. So I remember telling my dad, he followed me to Calabar then, that I would like to be there in case he called and I wanted to ask any questions. So when it was time for the college assembly, and then I hinted the college secretary that I was that I had an interest in being a part of the assembly when they called on my case, as opposed to them just discussing it without my input.
You being there.
So so I was able to be there, and that was another horrifying moment in my life, because I saw how it was very easy for people to decide your life without considering you. I went there. Wow. They looked at the case, and then they started having a conversation as if I wasn't there. And they started saying things like, "Oh, you can't come back. We don't have this. She can't come back. We don't have the facilities. She's in medical school. She was in 4th year. That's clinical rotation. And okay, even if she comes back and does year 4 again, and when she goes to year 5, are we going to give up 1 year? Are we going to?" And I was like, "I'm here." And then they now ask me questions like, "Okay, can you stand at all? Can you walk at all?" I say, "Right now, no, I can't. It's this chair. This is it." And I asked them to help me. That I didn't have all the answers, but I was willing to work with whoever I needed to work with to figure out how I was going to do it. Till I understand that there was nothing that was going to be the same, because I'd learned that everything I had to do it a bit differently. But I told them that I knew what's possible if they were willing to work with me to figure out a few things. Okay, for example, if I had to assess a patient, I could bring the bed down. I was just, they said, "No, we're not going to, we don't have." And then their final conclusion was like, "For now, maybe in the future, but for now, we don't have the facilities to take this on." And that was the conclusion. And they told me that I should change my program. I should do another program. And then they now went ahead to tell me the programs that I could not do. So that's how I left that meeting that day. And my dad was mad. He was very angry. I was very disappointed in the system. I think I felt a lot of disappointment, because up until then, I did not think that going back to school and doing medicine would be an issue. It didn't occur to me to be a problem. So that was a kind of a blow to me. I was like, oh my God, because like I said, I tried to take everything step by step. So I'd worked on learning to sit, taking time to figure out some basic stuff, how to get stronger again, to be able to go back to school and things like that. Working up to that moment of going back to school, and then I was told that nope, you can't come back.
Yeah, you'd essentially done everything that was within your power to do, and it was now their turn to kind of meet you halfway and help you.
Yeah. So when I came back, and it's not, I still even had some medical issue, but I still came back, and then my dad now asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I told him to just give me time to think it through. Once again, I didn't come out bawling and crying. It's not my immediate response. So I came back and I was like, okay. But my mom always taught us go from known to unknown. She's a teacher. So I said, okay, what do I know? All I've known is medical sciences. I don't know any other thing. So my options are, I go back and I write JAMB, and I write for another course entirely after 4 years. Almost being done. Because if I was not doing medicine, I was writing my professional exam to go into 5th year. So if I was doing a regular course, I'm sure it would have been done, and that holiday would have been graduation holiday or something, as you're done. So I was like, wow, go back and write JAMB again. and do another course, or come back and do a medical course, a related medical course, by way of like a transfer to another university, or go to the same university and change course program. So I found out what were my options. So I now told my dad that, okay, that it should have been nice for you to go back to school, but truth be told, I'm not even that strong to be in another state from you guys. So what we'll do is I'll change program. So that's why I ended up doing physiology, human physiology. I'll stay within the medical sciences that I know, rather than going back to do JAMB and do something fresh and start struggling. So we made an inquiry, then I found out that I could come back and do it from third year as opposed to starting again. Because at that point I was feeling very cheated. So that's what we now settled that I could do. So this took another extended period getting transcripts. So I ended up doing an inter-university transfer from the University of Calabar to University of Port Harcourt to study physiology. I've also found out that I had options of giving up. that was a very solid option, because if somebody had looked, the person would see that I had tried. I mean, I actually tried. I went back to school. So I found out that was also an easy option. But that was not an option for me, because it was clear for me that I wanted to have at least finish university on my own terms. So that was one of the goals I had set and all that. So that kind of
So can I just ask this one? What fueled your mindset? So you just talked about you had the option of giving up. What fueled your mindset and kept you on the straight and narrow?
Okay, I think it was because I wanted to be a graduate from school. And I felt that if I don't finish this is something that I felt like I'll be allowing disability win. Or I'll be allowing what happened to me win. That's how I felt. So that's why, because we were like, you should have done medicine. I said, for me at that point, it was not even about medicine. It was really about me getting that first degree. I felt that would be validation that I had done something. So that was my mindset. So when that was my clear mindset, it allowed me to not see giving up as an option. I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't need to do anything. My parents will take care of me. But that made me to not see that as an option. Going back to school was the option. So that even when I had finished school and I had problems with an incomplete transcript, I pursued it because it has still been easy for me at that point to give up. Like I said, that I decided to do something doesn't mean, or that I decided to do something did not mean that everything just, we're saying she's trying. No. I found out that it also would take a lot of effort to get it done. So going back to school, even finishing, when it was time to graduate, the result came out and my name was not there.
Oh wow.
And somebody called and was like, hey, Freky, come to school, your name is not on this graduating list. I said, why? And then I found out that because normally you won't see your transcript, they would send it directly to the school. And when I found out from the head of the department, he said that there were courses that were missing. And those courses are courses that they take in Uniport in first and second year. And since I didn't do first and second year, then I must do them as carryover.
And you find out in the final year, right? You find out on graduation year.
As in, not even final year, that's
the
like
graduation day.
Come out.
Okay.
So with that, what happened was that I asked him to please show me what was missing. Because I doubted very much that I had missed a course. Because I had already taken, remember, I did medicine. I had already taken second MB. So I doubted it very much. So when he showed me, I now found out that what happened is still human error, like you just described, human error, where somebody in a hurry didn't bother looking for all my results, quickly filled in what the person could find and send as a transcript. So when I saw the missing courses, I know that I had written them. So they put it back to me. They gave me a time slot that if I wanted to graduate with my colleagues before the next Senate meeting, I needed to go back to Calabar and find those missing results and have them send it across to the school. So that's the whole story. So you can see that
the whole effort, you will think that having put in the effort to go back to school, to try to get things done, that things should be done easily.
That
And it
wasn't the case
wasn't
at
like
all.
that. And that is very key for me, because some people are like, that because I have a disability, something else cannot happen. I'm like, that's not true. Life doesn't happen like that. That you have to be always prepared to fight, and like fighting the good fight of faith. And I think that helps you when you have a goal or a clear direction. It helps you kind of to stay focused. For me, it was like, this degree must happen. Like, I just saw this as hindrance. I was like, you see this degree, you will have it. And with that clarity, and it kind of gave me the strength, it fueled my strength to go back. I actually went back to Calabar and tried to get those results. Went back to the registrar of the report, told them what I was doing, so they knew. So what happened was that when they had their Senate meeting, because the HGB now called me and was like, he said, because he used to call me, somehow I don't call me Freky. He said, Freky, how did you get to the registrar? She asked for specifically for your result. And say, that's because I told God that nobody's graduating if I don't graduate. It's very simple. So to come the long story short, they did find and complete my result, and I was able to graduate with my second class up. Even though
Look at that, people, second class upper in spite of everything. That is amazing. That is amazing. So can I ask you, there was something that you said that just I want you to elaborate on, and I think you have well, to some respect, but you said that every time you would overcome a setback, it just seemed like another setback will just spring up from adversity, will just spring up, another challenge will just spring up again. You know, what made you so relentless? I know this is me asking the same question in another way, but because I really want people to get this, what made you so relentless? What made you just lie down and say, you know what, I throw in the towel?
Okay, it was actually really simple for me, because I knew that accident, I was supposed to die. It was meant for death, because it was bad. So I felt that, and I still feel that I have a second lease in life. And I also understand that because I have that second lease, that means there was a purpose in that escape, in me not dying on the 26th of December in 2002. And that has shaped my perspective on how I involve myself in living. I think perspective helps. If you feel that you're just coasting, you will coast. But if you feel that your life has to have meaning, I honestly strongly believe that the life that we live is easy to find excuses. For me, it could be disability. For another person, it could be I'm an orphan. For another person, we used to have a lot of money. Now we don't have a financial crisis. That it's easy to find excuses in life not to be able to do anything. And your excuses sometimes could be legitimate, but also understood that at the end, we'll give account. So you will stand, because God is very aware of what you're going through. But He also wants you to understand that there's no vacuum. So as you've come here, and at this time, even though it's one thing that you are made for, it is important. So enjoy it and do it well. So that has been my perspective on anything that I do or I set my mind to do. That it's not a waste of time. It is meant to be. And that kind of informs the kind of level of strength and passion and involvement. I'm very passionate about the things I do. So, and I'm very determined. And I don't easily take no for an answer. Like I said, I am very stubborn. So, and this is a good part. People say stubbornness is not the word. This is a good part because you don't take no for an answer. So when I'm giving lots of no, I'm responding with why, and why not, kind of questioning why not, you know. So that has been my attitude, and it has helped a lot. It has backfired sometimes, but most times it has helped. So that kind of has helped me, that perspective, understanding that I should have died, and knowing that this is the second lease and that's meant, let me leave it well without apology, has helped me a lot. You know, when people are telling me, why are you doing this thing? Why are you struggling? Why are you... Okay, for example, when I went back for my first master's, people were like, me that especially my friends that have graduated and were doing that, they say, we that we finish school, I'm not even going back for masters, you're going again. I said, let's be going to school. I felt that I should just add that to just show that first degree, God helped me, I achieved it, and we can go back and do it again. So I went back and I now did, and I got the masters in physiology. And then I now went back and I now got another master's in public health. So everyone was like, you said, just do it, just...
I love it because you're proving that it can be done. The only limitations that we have are the ones that we set up ourselves in our minds. That's the only limitations are the ones in our minds. Amazing.
So I think that has helped. And one thing that I want to say is that it's not about, you have to continue to remind yourself also that you're worth, when things happen, when you achieve, that you're worth it, because sometimes you feel like, maybe just, okay, for example, somebody has had the audacity in my face to tell me that I excel academically because they pity me because I'm on a chair. And I told the person, no, they have always known I'm an intelligent person. That's like, I'm, it's not about bragging, like you can't come and diss what I have done, what merited, and come and want to use an obvious, maybe because you can see me on wheels. No. And I told the person categorically that no, that's, I'm sure you know very well that we do not write our names on our scripts, so nobody knows who is who when they are marking. So don't come and make a mockery of my effort and try to want to use disability to justify it. I said no. I told her that they're not giving you that power, and I know it's not true. So sometimes people tend to want to do that. Oh, you got this because of this, and I'm like, no. That I am well aware that if because I'm in Nigeria, that I have to put in a lot of effort to achieve things. First of all, as a woman. Secondly, as a person with disability. The extra effort is a real thing. And that I've already known that this is the case. So you can't come and want to make a wash of the extra effort. I mean, I went to school and there were times the class, I still remember one, we went for not two, a particular course they were having in a classroom, and the door was not wide enough to take in my chair. I sat outside by the window to attend the classes. I've had classes that are upstairs, and then I have to either look for people to help me to get me up, or I stay down and I wait for them and I get their notes. But these are things that could easily dissuade somebody, but I'm not allowed to stop me from achieving what I wanted. Even till now in master's program, because I'm now doing a PhD, even till now, sometimes they set class, they forget, and I call immediately and I say, except you don't want me, and I'm very clear. Then I used to be nice, now I'm very clear, and I said it, and I'm like, except you don't want me to attend the class, then that class is upstairs. But if you want me to be a part of that class, then get an accessible venue, and everybody adjusts. So the effort is real, and it doesn't stop, it's constant, it's every day. So when you feel you achieved something, you go and you just meet another roadblock that will almost drive you crazy. And sometimes I have to just, hold myself, call myself back, and not react, but rather respond to the situation and try to get it to be better.
Love it. I love it. You are speaking power, you're speaking truth, you are speaking, game-changing scenarios into people's lives, So I know that our audience is getting blessed, completely blessed by it. So you've kind of told us some of the things that you're doing now, right? You're doing your PhD. What else are you doing from an advocacy standpoint? Because I read your profile. I know that you're up to a lot. Do you want to tell our audience, what else? It wasn't enough that you went back to university. It wasn't enough that you did a first master's. It wasn't enough that you did the second one. It wasn't enough that you're doing your PhD. But you are showing that your life has purpose and meaning, and you're going over and above. I want to hear about that. Please share.
Okay. So when I will take it back a bit. When I didn't end up doing medicine and surgery, people were like, are you not settling for less? I said, not really, because when I was about to finish school, I was clear on, why I wanted to do medicine and surgery. And that was the bigger picture, which is to reach out and help people. And I remember asking God that, okay, seeing this physiology, I know that one of the highest, especially with our environment, that I can do with it is probably lecturing. That how can I express this particular purpose when it comes to reaching out and being a blessing to others, adding value to the lives of other people, and helping people if I do not do it in the ward. And towards the end of that first degree, a friend of mine came out like, oh, Freky, that there's an ING, or an international non-governmental organization that is seeking on volunteers. They work with HIV and HIV-related areas. And she asked me if I was going to be interested in being a volunteer. I was like, sure, because I had done volunteering while in medical school, in medical outreaches, and I remember it being my maximum fun. So I applied to be a volunteer with that organization. And I now realized that they weren't calling me for any volunteering activities. So I went to their office, and this is just me being me. Because I applied there and I wanted to volunteer, not so that to be on paper, because I actually wanted to volunteer. And I understood what their challenge would be, because I found out that a lot of people most times, when it comes to persons with disabilities, they want to engage, but they don't know how. And rather than get upset, it's okay for me to be able to, especially when they're willing to work with me or work with you to get it done, it's okay to work together to figure it out. So when I went there and I talked to the country director, she was like, oh, but they're not exactly sure what my limitations are, what are the things I can do. So I told her, okay, that this is definitely a better response than just not engaging me at all, and I'm a volunteer on paper. So what we did was work out, because they were doing a lot of outreaches that were far out. So we worked out, how I could be a part of, that's real part of the volunteering that they were doing there. And I carved a niche while I was there. So in the end, I ended up working there, not as a volunteer, but as a staff, because I became very involved in their often the vulnerable program. So we did programming, did a lot of things. And that was my first exposure to being able to express that purpose of helping people in the non-profit sector. And that kind of birthed my involvement in volunteering, civic engagement, and then starting Freky Andrew-Essien Care Foundation, which we call FAECARE Foundation, in 2013. So this is kind of backstory to that. So when I started our FAECARE Foundation in 2013, I had a lot of experience in working in non-profit sector already, by way of all I've said before, and other instances. And we started out and we're able to carve exactly what it is that we want to do. And one of the groups of people that we reach out to, apart from children and youth, are persons with disabilities. And of course, obviously that comes from a personal experience, a personal experience or personal involvement in the disability world.
So can I ask a question? I'm going to ask the question to segue into that. So you were doing all of this, you were volunteering, you were supporting with the NGO that you ended up working with. So what was the mind shift that got you to the point where you said, you know what I need to do is start a foundation? What happened? What got you to that point? Why?
Okay, so I knew that it's easy to volunteer. Of course, in the course of working and doing all that, we finished with the program that we're doing, and then the NGO we closed out. So I found out that it's possible, and then I continued to volunteer, of course, still going to school. So I figured that I could continue informal volunteering, but I felt that being able to do what I wanted to do by way of expressing that purpose, that I needed a structured platform. And that is what birthed FAECARE Foundation. So we started out, and immediately it was clear that it had to be registered, everything done properly. So that's to give me a platform that was structured and credible, professional in approach and everything. So as an organization, when it comes to persons with disabilities, I'm very particular about women and girls with disabilities. So no matter what we do, no matter what we involve them in, we always make sure that women and girls with disabilities are involved, either part of the program or standalone. So we do a lot of empowerment programs for women and girls with disabilities. Then we also do some capacity building so that they can be advocates when it comes to disability rights. So those are some of the things that we do specific to disability in our organization.
So from your profile, it says that you participated in the Barack Obama flagship and inaugural Young African Leaders Initiative, and you're also a Mandela Washington Fellow. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so President Barack Obama in 2013 indicated or said that he was interested in raising or building the critical mass of young African leaders to stay in their country, that's go through a leadership program, then come back to their countries and continue to do what they did, so by way of capacity building. And so in 2014, they launched that flagship program, Young African Leaders Initiative. It was when we finished that we're now tagged Mandela Washington Fellows of young African leaders in sub-Saharan, from different countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So what NWF is that you apply for the program. It's funded by the US government under the United States State Department. And you come to the United States for 6 weeks for a leadership program in a school, in the university, a higher institution. I was in the University of Delaware. Afterwards, you have an optional internship program, and then you come back with your leadership plan, and you come back to Nigeria to continue to do what you're doing and do it better, and still have a network of other alums here in Nigeria and also people outside there in other parts of the different African countries. So that program was flagged off, and we were the first fellows since 2014. It has continued to hold. When we applied, we're just 50 that were selected from the over 50, how many thousand applications. So we're just 50 that were selected from different countries in Africa. And I was privileged to be one of the young people selected. But anyway, that experience was life-changing. They continue to have it, even with President Barack Obama gone. They continue to have it. The only year they didn't have it was this year because of the COVID pandemic. Because as usual, they have systems there. So it's domiciled in the US State Department. So it didn't matter if he was there or not. And it was a life-changing experience because we were able to meet President Barack Obama. I was able to meet Michelle Obama. So yeah, it was good.
Look at that. Look at that. So Freky, I want you to speak specifically. So this is the point where I always get my guests to speak specifically to groups of people. So I want you to speak right now to two groups of people. The first group are people who have had, incredible setbacks in their lives, or what they term as incredible, because it's relative, isn't it? Everyone's incredible is different. I want you to speak to them and people who are doubting, you know what, there is no way for me to get back up. There is nothing else for me. I've lost this and I've lost that. I can't do anything. I want you to speak to them. I want you to come from somebody who is living a life after adversity, whose life is still going on. And it's even beautiful, to some extent, beautiful life. So can you just kind of speak directly to them right now?
I just wanted to let you know that in the place of adversity, you will find a lot of strength. That's when strength is displayed. And honestly speaking, that you're going through something doesn't mean that you have to also be strong all the time. It's okay to cry if you have to cry. It's okay to feel bad about something that happened. But what will not be okay is if you stay crying and if you stay down. That is when that thing has won. There is nothing that comes to you that there is no way of escape, and that there is no way that you can go around it. In fact, it wouldn't have come to you if you did not somehow have that strength to overcome it. I think the most important thing is to just find a way to draw yourself back. Just find a calm, centered place where you can begin to not just rely on your own strength, but rely on faith that this thing is not going to crush me. This thing is not going to be the end of me. What that does for you is that it takes away a lot of despair, because when you're desperate about a situation and you continue to focus on the negatives of that situation, it will amplify itself. Yes. But within that situation, I'm sure somebody wonder, what is the good thing about disability? Or what is the good thing about what I'm going through? I can tell you one of the good things about disability. It helped me to find out more about myself, more things about myself by way of my strengths, things that I could do. I didn't know half of the things that I know about myself now before. I didn't know that I'll be able to be strong enough to still achieve a lot. But in doing, I found out what I could. So if you're able to understand that even in this bad situation, it's still possible for you to fulfill purpose. It's still possible for you to find something within it. I think what it does, first of all, to give you that burst of positivity and energy to even try. Because it is in try and it is in doing that you will discover. If you just sit back and you give up, trust me, the excuses will come and they are legitimate. I keep saying it, they are legit. When I came out and there was no job, I mean, it was easy for me to say, I've tried now, I've gone to school, I have a degree, I even have second class up and no job. Like every time excuses will come, but we don't allow yourself to be carried away by them excuses, and then don't allow it to be an excuse. Don't give it to yourself as an option, as an excuse, and then you begin to see, what can I do in this? Slowly but surely, I'm not saying it might be immediate, but you might begin to find clarity when you begin to put yourself out there. I think genuinely that one of the things that stops people back from doing a lot when you have hit a setback is fear.
Yes.
When you're afraid of putting yourself back out there, or you're afraid of uncertainties.
You're afraid of uncertainty. And I think it's that thing your mother said as well was so true. Start from the known and work to the unknown. A lot of times people stay in the unknown. They don't start from what they know and understand that it's in the little steps and in the little building blocks that you get to work out what the unknown is.
Yes, this is so true, because the unknown is big and is a black hole. It is called unknown because we don't know it. And if you focus on it, that hole gets darker, bigger, it overwhelms, it becomes a dark cloud. It's a dark place to be. But if you focus on what is there, and honestly speaking, the things that you know might not be big. Let me explain. The other day, somebody called me in the course of this work, I've had to interact with a lot of people. And for this person, the person was kind of, should I say, trapped indoors. So the person's life had stopped. The person wasn't going anywhere. And the person did not know how to deal with the outside world. So I asked the person, okay, yours is that you have and you don't even know what to do. I told her that's because you're trying to figure out some big thing. I said, no, one step at a time. So I asked the person, what is the likely place that you can go to now? The person said church. And I asked, is there anything that's stopping you from going out to church every Sunday? No, I'm not talking about maybe plenty. Okay, every Sunday. The person said, actually nothing. That even they've asked her, do you want us to pick you? Do you want? I said, okay, let's not figure out any other thing. Just start going out. Let it be that you have something that you're looking forward to every week. Trust me, to do something to your mind. And then you could see this, every Sunday, oh my God, I'm going somewhere. It does amazing things. And then from that small one, she started talking to people, interacting with people again. Those interpersonal skills. And she started getting more comfortable in discussing with people. She was not somebody that is dull. She's not dull. She just didn't know what to do. I said, okay, start from that one. And just to cut a long story short, from that going out, meeting people, she got to say, okay, I can add this, I can do this. Now she's the one that we're looking for how to stop her from going out too much and do the house.
I love that.
But that started from at least
just
stepping out,
little steps.
Going there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. The second group of people, please, if you will. People, you mentioned something about people mean the best. Some people mean well, particularly when they're dealing or they're interfacing with someone with disabilities, but they just don't know how to engage. What is your advice, for people who don't know how to engage with people with disabilities? What can they do?
Okay, so I'm going to advise in that advice. I'm going to advise two sets of people, because there are two players in that field: the person that wants to interact with a person with disability and the person with disability, because that dynamic determines the outcome. Now, different scenarios cause for different things. And the scenarios could be as many as a lot of things. Now, I honestly believe that for a person who wants to interact with a person with disability, the first thing would be to have an open mindset. Don't assume you know. Don't come with, because we have a lot of prevailing stereotypes that clouds people's judgments when it comes to interacting with persons with disabilities. So my encouragement would be everything that you've known about disability generally, whether it's a myth, whether it's a mythology, whatever it is, just keep it aside and deal with that person as an individual. That's the best way. Because when we say persons with disabilities, it's intentional. There's a reason why we don't encourage disabled persons. That's a derogatory term. There's a reason why we encourage persons with disabilities, because it puts the person first. The reason why we say women with disabilities, because it puts the woman first. So one of the best ways to engage with that person is to engage the person as an individual. What it would do is that it will allow the person to be themselves. And instead of dealing with a lady on a wheelchair or somebody on a wheelchair, because different people could be on wheelchairs, what you're dealing with now is that you're dealing with Ndifreke, you're dealing with Freky. That's a different engagement, as opposed to you're dealing with some random person or another person who is on a wheelchair. If you use the wheelchair or the disability as your qualifier for interacting with the person, you miss out on that interaction. You miss out on that relationship. But if you come and you talk to me as Ndifreke, okay, so it will be a different story that you might not even remember. Most people don't even remember that I use wheels. So when they ask me for weird things, I'm like, yes, it's not everything I do, calm down. So interact with the person as the person first. I think that's the best thing. So I've said two things. I've said three things. Keep an open mind. Leave all the stereotypes, keep it by the window, and then deal with the person as an individual, as that person. One of the discriminations a lot of persons with disabilities face, especially here, is getting employment. I've also faced it firsthand. I've been told categorically that we don't think you can cope because of disability. These are real life scenarios. And this is because people's mindset when it came to work was you have to be physically there all the time. When the world now had to work from home and people could still get the job done, they now found out that, there are many ways to get to this thing than being physically present. So I'm just using that as an illustration to show that even if somebody with a disability doesn't do something in the natural, normal, conventional way, if the person can walk around it and get the job done, do not diss that person's ability to get it done. Now, addressing persons with disabilities with themselves, I'm going to say this because I've gone through all that, and every day we still have to walk through it. Don't be overly emotional in your response. When things go wrong, don't immediately think that person is intentionally attacking you. It might be that the person does not know a better way to do it. You can decide to get angry. Okay, let me give an example. I like giving live examples. We went to a hotel. We had a conference and we went to a hotel in Lagos. By the way, I have a lot of problems when I go to hotels and many buildings that are never accessible. So we went to this international hotel that should have known better than not being accessible. It was not accessible. And I was not the only person on wheels. There was this other lady on wheels. For any other person. And when we got there, it was clear that this was where they had booked for us to stay because it came with an accommodation. Unfortunately, they did not consider that it should be accessible and things like that. They were focused on the room being accessible, not the hotel. Unfortunately, the hotel was not accessible. And it was now very late. So we didn't really have options of going to look for other places. So she now flared up. She became very angry in the front of the hotel and were causing a scene. Now, when I looked at the scenario, I now found out that at that point, while it was important for us to exercise our rights, it was kind of unnecessary for us to get very angry at the situation. So I told her that she should chill. That let us make this thing positive so that they will not say persons with disability are always angry, and then if another person comes and the person has a disability, they will not even want the person. So I told her, let's do this a bit differently. Let's not shout, because we can shout. There are the instances where you shout. I said this one was not me shouting. So I called the manager. So let us reach an agreement. We will allow you to carry us into the hotel today because we're just a few steps. But do us a favor. By the time we go for our conference tomorrow and we are coming back, you will not carry us into this hotel. You would have found a carpenter to do a wooden ramp that you can bring out and help us inside while we figure out a more permanent solution. Can we agree on that? And you could feel the guy very relieved that there was a solution because he was very embarrassed by it. So he now went ahead and said yes, that they would do it. So went in, and true to form, by the next day, they're very proud of their that they had done. Now that is progress, as opposed to us shouting. So bringing it back, as a person with disability, when you're engaging with others and they're not exactly poor or they do something useless and things like that, gauge the situation, try to see the factors that play in. See if it's something that is a civil rights case, see if it's something that I can solve almost immediately, or see if it's something that I can be an activist about, or see if it's something I can advocate about. Just gauge the situation well. Don't always be emotional. I'm saying this because sometimes when us being angry, we have made people to, I don't want to use the word judge us, but they don't really, they're like, no, this would have like so much, but I think it helps. So really, there's a lot to do. So don't mind you. That's making sure that when I die, nothing remains.
Preach it. Preach it. We are dying empty. We are dying empty. I'm with you in that club. We are dying empty. I love it. And I think the thing that comes to mind for me now is just hearing your story and how you have been able to, you know, as they say, when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. You have now been able to make such a beautiful thing. You know, this is what the Bible talks about, you know, beauty for ashes, you know, something that was meant to trip you up, both figuratively and you know, literally. And you have picked yourself up and you have said, with this same thing, with this same arrow that they threw at me, I will do something even greater. You are a message. You're a voice to our generation. You are a voice of hope. I know that there are people that are going to be listening to this and they're just going to be challenged in their spirit because you can do it. So can they. So can you listening to this. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing so openly. Thank you for being vulnerable with us. Thank you for, you know, speaking from your spirit, because I think that's what you did. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. But I want you to just give us final words. I'm just going to let you loose. Just give us final words. Whatever is on your mind, just let us know as we close.
Okay. Thanks so much for having me. And if you're listening to me out there, I can assure you that it looks as if I have it all together. That's not entirely true. There are difficult days, but one of the key things is not allowing myself stay down in the doldrums. I always find a way to pull myself out. I honestly believe that when we achieve something, when we're able to surmount an adversity or a problem, that we do not just do it for ourselves, that we do it and people see, others see that they can as well. That every life is an epistle, every life is a testament, every life is a testimony. So when we live our lives, understand that you may be that smile, you may be that can do that somebody needs to pick up themselves and really run with life. And I also want to tell you out there that if in the course of trying to get yourself out there and trying to work and trying to put it together, and it looks like every time you hit like home run, something drags you back down, don't give up. You have a lot of strength in you. The fact that you're able to run a stretch doesn't mean that you may not meet an obstacle on the way. I want you to approach that obstacle understanding that it will give way and you'll be able to continue and advance on what you're doing. Finally, I want you to understand that you deserve the good things that come to your life. You are remarkable. Nobody can be you. You are you. There is no two of you in this world. And the fact that you're still alive, you're still here, you're breathing, means that there is something and there's a reason and there's a purpose. So run with it without any apologies. When people see you with what they think should be the norm and you're doing yours in your own way, please do not apologize for it. Live your life to the fullest because you deserve it.
No truer words said. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today. Fantastic. Wasn't that just an awesome conversation? I love to hear about all the great many things Freky has gone on to do in spite of the challenges, the adversity that she's faced along the way. I especially loved when she spoke about the fact that, in life there will always be excuses, and legitimate ones as well. Excuses that are intended to keep you small, excuses that support inaction. For her, it was disabilities that could have been her excuse, but for you it might be something else. And I love how she says that it's important for us to not let these excuses, take up space in our minds, and we must understand that we have been called to achieve great things despite challenges. I thought that was such a powerful lesson. So here's the thing, I would love to encourage you to connect with Freky. Her website is FAECAREFoundation.org. I will include the details in the show notes. And just support the excellent work that she's doing with her foundation, and connect with her on Instagram and Facebook as well. Thank you for joining me today on the Unscathed Live podcast. I trust you've taken away actionable practices for living unscathed. You can check me out on my website at www.unscathed.me or on Instagram at tombra.moswago and Facebook at The Unscathed Life. Have a great week, and do remember to be resilient in all your endeavors. Bye for now.